and welcome to another video of the Automobilista 2 racing simulator. Back in the day I used to own Mini Coopers, and so I decided to go and try and see how the Mini Cooper feels after the update. Now, previous to the update, I had no fun driving this Mini Cooper whatsoever because I felt the handling was just completely off. Didn't feel to me like a Mini Cooper at all. So I've set up a race here for 10 or 8 laps, I believe. 10 laps at Brands Hatch with 16 other or 15 other Mini Coopers from the 1956. And we're going to try our best and see how it does. I'll do a short practice introduction to see how the Mini Cooper compares to what I used to think about it. We have light cloud, no weather change is set up. The tires are all weather tires like they used to race back in the day. They're what they call vintage tires. And here we are. We're going to have to add a little bit of fuel. Well, we're good for the 10-lap race. So, alright, let's get in the wheel. This is not looking really good, is it? Oh, that's because there's shared pits. Alright, so this is just a practice session. See how the Mini Cooper feels. Whoa, these cars are really slow. Full tires. So previously, before the update, this car would basically just understeer everywhere, and sometimes it would oversteer mid-turn like it does a little bit now. And in my memory, when I drove a Mini Cooper, if it would be in a turn and I would just slightly get on the gas to let the engine pull the car a little bit, it would pretty much always just pull through the turn without snapping or oversteering. Sometimes if you would hit the throttle too hard, it would understeer, obviously, because the wheels would lose their grip a little bit. The inside wheel would lose grip mostly. I always felt that in this simulator, the Mini body rolls a little bit too much. I don't remember my Mini ever leaning into the turns that much. And from the looks of it, so at this first lap, it feels better, but the characteristics are still there. They're just not as strong as I remember them from before the update. So you can just basically roll the car into the turn, and it understeers really bad. Tires are still not up to temperature, so we'll give them this one. And here in the slow turns, it'll start over, it'll roll through the turn, and if you get slightly on the gas, it doesn't really pull itself straight like I remember from my real Mini. But it's not as bad as before, I will say that. I think I can have a little bit more fun with this car now. Just roll it in, and really when it oversteers, do really two things. It's pretty easy to catch because it's not a heavy car, and if you get on the gas while it oversteers, it basically pulls itself straight, which is a typical characteristic of a front-wheel drive race car. And that makes them very different from rear-wheel drive race cars, because with those you really have to do the steering. It's definitely not as understeer as it used to be. And if you're slightly on the gas, the way it pulls out of the turn feels better than it was. Caught a little grass there. Grass in Automobilista is as slick as to be expected. Beautiful day in Brands Hatch, where the Mini obviously raced a lot back in the day. So just let it roll through the turn here, a little bit on the gas. And that actually does not feel too bad once the tires warm up a little bit better. And that's another thing with Automobilista. When you practice, you start out with stone cold tires every time, which is what you would expect, obviously. And you'll see later when I start the race, when you're on the grid, all four tires are green, meaning they're at perfect temperature. But when you start racing this car, because it's a front-wheel drive car, these rear-wheel vintage tires, they really don't get any temperature in them at all. As you can see in the bottom right turn, or bottom right of your screen there, those rear tires don't get any temperature in them. So when they're fully green and hot on the grid, it kind of makes you wonder, well, how did they get that hot? Because if you do a couple of warm-up laps, you still wouldn't get any heat in those tires. So that's a little bit off, I think, in this simulator. I will say, once again, though, doing just a couple of practice laps here to get used to the different feel of the Mini after the update, it does feel better. It definitely feels better, more drivable. If you're not too heavy on the gas coming out of the turns, it kind of tries to pull itself into the line you're trying to go. Whoops, misshifted there. But if you're too much on the gas, it feels like the inside tire is really trying to spin all the time, and you really kind of lose the command over the direction you're trying to take. It just kind of wants to go straight, which with a little bit of torque on the front wheels, I would not think that a car would want to go straight and understeer. It would pull into the direction that you're pointing the front wheels. It still kind of feels that way. If I apply a little bit of throttle mid-turn, it feels like it just doesn't want to turn anymore. I got to give it more input to make it turn at all, and I got to get off the gas to get the back end around. And that does not feel Mini Cooper to me. So, yeah, it's a little better, but it's still not where it needs to be. Alright, so I'm going to park it here, and I'm not going to qualify. I'm just going to start in the back. Again, it's just a short race, and we're just trying to have a little fun with the Mini Cooper here. We're going to return to the pit box, skip to end. We're going to not qualify, and here we are on the grid. And as you can see, the tires are all in the green. They're all at racing temperature. That is a little bit off, I think. They do that with every car, and not all cars warm the tires up that way, especially not this one. Alright, here we go. First lap going into Cop's Corner. AI is at 100% with 100 aggressiveness, which will make it pretty difficult to to keep up with these cars. And as you can see in front of you, the body roll of those minis is just tremendous. And I don't really remember the body roll on minis being that much. They should feel more like front-wheel drive go-karts. But right here, there's one other situation. I have to be really, really careful on the throttle not to spin those tires out and just make the car go straight. Let it roll through the turn. A little bit of throttle. That doesn't feel too bad. It's better than it was for sure. The 12th car here, see if we can make that stick into the next turn. The force feedback in the wheel does feel better than I remember. It's not as mushy on this Mini Cooper, so yeah, it definitely is an improvement. But it may be me, I don't know. I've never raced my Mini, but I've driven it pretty fast, and it just feel the way I remember it is just a little different. Alright, going into the second lap. Sharp eye may also have noticed. See, and this year when I will correct oversteer, while you're correcting oversteer with the steering wheel, if you just pump the gas a little bit, a front-wheel drive, a little light car like this will pull itself straight. And that's actually what I do remember doing with my Mini as well. Oops, wrong gear. Talking too much, I suppose. Now, Sharp Eye will remember that I am 15th of 16 cars, or 17 cars, and for some reason, since the update has also updated the way the pace car works in this game. They count the pace car as a car on the track. There's only 16 Mini Coopers, but there's one Chevy Camaro pace car on in the race, and that's the way they count it, which is a little weird. You would never count the pace car as a car on the track because most of the time, if everything goes right, it's not on the track really. Got back behind the number 12 once again. We're going to try this move in the same corner, see if we can make it stick a little bit better. That's not how you do it. Understeer out of the turn there. Coming back by. Should stay in third here. Just let it roll through the turn. Slightly on the gas. It does feel better. Once the tires get warm, it does get better. And I really don't know how the tires in real life racing in the 60 would compare to the tires I had on my Mini Cooper. My Mini Cooper had, that was in the early 80s, my Mini Cooper had some pretty decent wide tires on it, and these, as you can see, original Mini Coopers in the 60s, they had like little narrow, I'm sure very hard compound, almost as bad as wooden wagon wheels really. So that may be part of it, that my memory of my Mini Cooper is just not the same as it was on the track back then. Still have to get better in this car for sure, but it's more fun than it was before the update. Definitely. It's way more drivable. I mean, let's face it, I don't know everything about every real car in this game. So, basically, you know, in any sim, you just have to deal with what you're given and make the best of that. Biggest thing in any racing sim to me is having fun with it. And obviously part of that is that it needs to feel somewhat convincing of what it would be in real life. I mean, if you compare like how cars handle in Need for Speed, to me that's just not how cars handle. You can't drift a car at 200 miles an hour. But you can definitely drift a Mini Cooper on Brands Hatch. As I told you in the previous video with the Formula Junior, I am an avid iRacing driver, so obviously Automobilista 2 is not iRacing, it feels different. What I really like about Automobilista 2 is the AI. It's not always super realistic, but it's competitive and it's fun. If you put the aggression a little higher, especially in tint-up cars, you'll have a little bit of door banging. You can tweak all that to your own liking and your own capabilities. And, you know, to me, iRacing is a little bit more a sim than Automobilista. But they're still working on it a lot, and they're making enormous amounts of progress. Since I first got it, and all the updates that we've had since then. New cars, they're working on new tracks, and they may not be as sophisticated with the scanning of the tracks as iRacing is, but I mean, in the end, it's about having fun, and I'm having fun with both of them. I think iRacing is definitely the market leader when it comes to online racing, and Automobilista is just fun to fiddle around with a little bit, like this. Just set up a little race, try out a new car, see how it feels. And even if you're battling for just a dead last position like I am now, as long as you've got somebody to race, I think it's always fun. Sound like I'm a little critical of how this Mini Cooper feels in game. Again, it's just my personal opinion compared to the real life Mini Cooper I had, which I will be the first to admit I never raced on track. I had different tires on it, so I'm sure all that plays into a factor. And to simulate all the correct behaviors of all these different cars, I'm sure you're not going to get all of them perfectly right. And as racing is predominantly done with rear-wheel drive, whoops, was my advantage over the last car. I think rear-wheel drive cars are more my thing to begin with. I'm much more used to them. And it's the same in iRacing, actually. The front-wheel drive cars that are in there are tougher for me as well, so that's probably part of it. A little tap in the butt there. Losing a lot of ground on the guys up ahead. See in the bottom corner on the right there, I mean, even after 6 laps on Brands Hatch, we keep those front tires on pretty good temperature because they're doing most of the work. But those rear tires, a little too hot into the turn there. Those rear tires are really not warming up at all. Once again, threw away my advantage on that little number 12 car here. Back to square one. Oh, he must have damaged something because he's going back into the pits. And that kind of means I'm a little lonely back here. Let's see if we can keep this thing on the track for a while. See on the right bottom corner that my right rear is just absolutely stone cold. And even in the 60s, driving around at speed on Brands Hatch, I just don't think that would be what reality would be like, and it's actually not helping me at all, as you can see there. It seems like it's getting a little bit better now. You can also see that being on lap 7, the tire wear is absolutely zero. That would be realistic because those tires were hard compound. And I'm sure a lot of the amateur drivers back in those days would be driving this whole season on maybe 1 or 2 sets of tires to keep the cost down. Automobilista 2, I do believe, has done a great job on the sounds of the cars. Although I have turned down the road noise and the wind noise a little bit, but the engine sounds I really like on pretty much every car. Tire screeching could, oh, there we go again. Tire screeching could work, use a little work. But yeah, I really do like the engine sounds on these cars. It's exactly how my Mini Cooper was. Loud as hell. After this, I'll be the first to admit I'm not doing very well. Not used to these front-wheel cars, front-wheel drive cars. my first time in the Mini Cooper since the update. And every car needs a little getting used to. I also like that Automobilista puts you in a British 1960s car and they're gonna put you on the right hand side. That's where the British sit when they drive cars. Going in there a little bit too hot. Coming off the slow turn in second gear, like this, I'm full throttle now, and it just doesn't seem like the car wants to go in the direction I'm steering. And with a front wheel drive car, that feels not realistic to me. The car would want to be pulled in the direction the wheels are steering. Oh, I totally messed up that one. Yeah, coming off the turns when you hit the gas, you have kind of a sense that the car just wants to go straight no matter what angle your steering wheel is in. It just doesn't feel right to me on a front-wheel drive car. Not with this low power. So, as we go into the final lap, we're only in pretty much last place. Didn't do very well here, but that's okay. That's not really the point. We can always practice more and try again. But yeah, verdict on the Mini Cooper. Turning in is really not feeling bad. If you're leaning on the front wheels with the brake slightly on, it tends to throw the back end around a little bit. That's perfectly what you would expect. It's not even that hard to correct the oversteer that comes from that, both by correcting the wheel obviously and then hitting the gas. It'll pull straight, but as I said, coming off the turn, I don't remember a Mini Cooper being that obnoxious going straight when you apply power. It's definitely better than it was before the update, but it's, to me, it's still okay, better, but no cigar. laps in. 15th position of 16 cars, so not great. But again, it's just to try out the car and see what it feels like. Again, sounds great, feels a lot better than it was before, but especially on turn exit when applying power, a low power car like a Mini Cooper should, in my opinion, be a little bit more responsive to what you're doing with the steering wheel. But again, this is just my opinion. I think Automobilista is definitely headed in the right direction, and that's why I'm giving it this airtime to help showcase that a little bit. Thanks for watching, and we'll see you next time. We'll try something different.